Hey everyone, it's James, and before you listen to today's show, I just want to give a quick trigger warning regarding the content of this week's episode. Today, I'm sitting down with Sensory Stowers, who is an extreme cinema aficionado, and we've never talked about extreme cinema on the podcast before, and as a film fan, I feel that all genres and film styles are valid, and we should talk about them. However, extreme cinema is not for the lighthearted, the faint of heart, those with a weak stomach, and we are going to talk about some topics that may not be appropriate for all people. We're going to talk about extreme violence. We're going to talk about drug use. We're going to talk about things of a sexual nature, both most positive and also in the vein of sexual violence, particularly when it comes to the film Serbian film, which is the last film we talk about at the end of the podcast, and we do give you fair warning. If this sounds like the kind of thing that is not your jam, I get it. That's why we're warning you now. You should be able to get quite a bit out of this episode without being too put off, but if you feel like it's best to skip this one or skip certain segments, we understand. But we do hope you enjoy this episode, and if not, this is the only episode we've done on extreme cinema. I don't know if we'll do it again, but as I said, all film styles are valid, and we wanted to cover this one. So, with the warning out of the way, I hope you enjoy this episode. Sensory was a fantastic guest and completely lovely. Listening to her, you would have no idea that her favorite films are so horrible and nasty. But this was a good one, and it was different, and it was nice to try something a little bit outside the box for the podcast. So I hope you enjoy this episode, but if it is something that would trigger you, skip this one and come back next week for the 150th episode, which is going to be a lot of fun. Thanks, everyone.
Teenage film snob, baby. I was a teenage film snob, baby.
Welcome to I Was a Teenage Film Snob. I'm James Chalmers, your friendly neighborhood film snob. And guys, it's a solo show. Nick and Maddie are away, so whenever it's a solo show, I love to have a guest. And today is really exciting. I'm very excited about today's episode, actually. We're killing two birds with one stone. Today's guest is not only my first ever UK guest. I've been trying for ages to get someone from the UK. I lived in the UK for 6 months and I couldn't get a UK guest, but now I finally have one. So we're crossing the continents, which is very exciting. But we're also going to dive in for the very first time into the world of extreme cinema. So before I introduce my guest, slight trigger warning. I'll put that up at the front of the episode as well, so you probably already heard it. If you're not familiar with extreme cinema, the name kind of says it all. We are probably going to be talking about some topics that you may not be comfortable hearing. We will be diving into ultra-violence, sexuality, both in a positive and not always a positive light. It's going to be all over the place. If you don't know what extreme cinema is, if the words human centipede mean anything to you, that's where we're going, that kind of territory, and probably a lot deeper than that as well. So just give you the heads up, just protecting you, and if you're not into that sort of thing, that's totally fine. But give the episode a go because my guest is fantastic. Speaking of which, she is online as Too Extreme for Mainstream. You may have heard of her. If you haven't, you should be checking out her content. She also hosts a fantastic new podcast called The Disturbing Real. I almost forgot what it was called. That would have been embarrassing. So please welcome someone I've been really looking forward to speaking to. It's Sensory Stowers, also the best name in podcasting. Sensory, welcome to the show.
Hi! I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have you here. How are you?
I'm doing really, really well, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And congratulations on being the first ever UK guest. That's very exciting for me.
No, congratulations to you as well for having me.
Congratulations for having you. Yes, I'm very honoured. I'm just trying to think. I guess the first place we started is how we kind of met. I can't even remember how we met. We've been chatting pretty much non-stop for the last month, I want to say, on Instagram. And
Yeah,
I don't
about
know
that,
whether
yeah.
I don't know whether I followed you or you followed me first. I tend to think maybe you followed me. It's not because I'm so cool that everyone should follow me. I'm just terrible at seeking out new contacts. So it's probably a situation where you followed me first and I followed back. But I
Yeah.
became really intrigued by your page because you were talking about films that I've either seen and not been able to speak to about anyone with, or you were talking about films that I've never seen, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm strong enough to watch this film. So very early on, I was very excited. when did you start the page, and how did that all come about?
Oh, so I started the Too Extreme for Mainstream page. I'm going to say about 5, 6 years ago.
Oh wow.
But I did have a previous Instagram to that.
Mm.
And it originally started on Facebook. But then I got a lot of hate, I got a lot of trolling and stuff like that, so I had to delete my pages.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
yeah, it was really bad. But I got over that and I made all new separate pages and everything's been fine since. So, but now I think I've got a bit more of a thicker skin. So if
Okay.
anybody says anything to me online now, I'm just like, look at you don't pay my bills. Your comment is irrelevant, I should say.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's when I started the pages quite a few years ago. And I just shared my love and passion for these movies, the dedication that the directors put into these movies that other people don't seem to see. They just go in and see what they see and that's it. But whereas me, I dig deeper with these movies. But that's how it all started. Yeah, on
Very cool.
Facebook.
Not cool that obviously you got all that hate. And was the hate and the negativity simply around the fact that these are such unpopular films? They are such kind of like misunderstood, I guess, in some way? Or was it just what was it, if you don't mind me asking?
So I got one comment in my inbox from someone. Now this one I just paid no attention to,
Mm.
but he says, "Oh, you must have had childhood trauma if you like a Serbian
Mm.
film," and I was like, no, actually, no, I haven't. I've had a pretty good upbringing. I've had a really good, life so far. I've got a family that are really supportive of me, and I can go to them with any problems I have, mental health. I can go to them about whatever I want, and they will allow me to open up with them for years. So I've been pretty much raised the right way, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Um, so I haven't been brought up in an abusive household or, a drunken set of parents or anything like that. I've been raised really, really well. So if I do say so, my parents did a good job.
Yeah, nice. I find it often to
So,
be the opposite. I've talked about this on my show before, but I grew up in a relatively strict household, at least until
mhm.
my parents divorced when I was 13, and once they divorced, both my parents lightened up quite a bit. My mum very much did, and my dad over time slowly lightened up. But during my younger years, during kind of like primary school and early high school, grew up in a house where there was no cursing, no violent movies, and I found as soon as I got my first job, which was working in a video store, I was like, right, where are all the violent movies? And it was almost like by not being exposed to them, I was like, well,
Mhm.
now that I have the freedom, now that I'm a little bit older, now that I can choose, I want to see what I've been missing out on. And because even though my parents, divorced, and I would say I did have a somewhat traumatic childhood, not traumatic in as much as no one was ever, no one ever laid a hand on me, or anything like that,
Yeah.
except for the old smack with the wooden spoon. I grew up in the 90s; it was a different time.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I would say like more emotional trauma, as much as going through something like a divorce is quite traumatic. But I would say it wasn't that drew me to video nasties. It was the fact that I wasn't allowed to watch anything above a G rating. So curiosity, I think,
Mhm.
is what led me there. Where did it begin for you? I guess your love of film in general, but then specifically the extreme stuff.
Yeah, well, originally, now I can't remember the exact year, but it was the year that Princess Diana had the car crash. That's how
Okay.
far back we're going. So I think I was, oh God, 8 or 9 or somewhere around there.
I want to say
And it
that was
wasn't,
97, 98. I was born
I can't,
late. I was born late 80s. I'm 88. That's when I was born. So I think I was about 10 or
right,
11. Yeah.
right, because I was born in 89. Um, But yeah, I can't remember the year that she had the car crash. I did try to work it out, and I asked my mum, and she did tell me, and I wrote it down, but I haven't got it with me. Um,
All good.
but anyway, so it was that year, and what happened was, now this is the moral of the story. My appendix had burst, so I had a full year off of school
Mm.
at the time, and so my mum and my dad took me into a video store, and well, they picked me out a Disney film. Um, but they also picked out a true crime movie. Um, so when we got back to the caravan, because we had a caravan at Haltwhistle in the UK, and so I put the true crime movie on instead. I didn't put the Disney film on. I put the true crime on, and it was Murder in the Heartland, and it starred Tim Roth, and it was about Charlie Starkweather and Caroline Fugate. I love that movie. If you haven't seen that movie, you need to watch it. It's free to
Okay.
watch on YouTube as well.
Oh, fantastic.
So you need to watch it. It's probably one of the first ones that got me into true crime anyway. And then with Extreme Cinema, so that got me into the true crime series and horror movies, and I watched Nightmare on Elm Street around that time. So Nightmare on Elm Street was my first love of horror movies. Freddy Krueger, my absolute favourite. And then quite a few years later, I got into Extreme Cinema, and it was the movie Flowers. And I remember watching it with my dad at the time, and even he watched it, and
Wow.
I was just like, oh, that was a good film.
Is
Um,
that and you'll have to excuse me. I consider myself somewhat of a novice. I've read about a lot more of them than I've seen. Is that
mhm.
one of the guinea pig films? Flowers? Does that fall under that, or is that something separate?
No, so that one's the Bouquet of Flowers, Bouquet of Guts and Gore. Um, which one is it? Flowers. The Bouquet of Guts and Gore, I think, is what you might be thinking of.
They've got
I
because
think.
I've done the deep dive. Like I've disturbed myself. I freaked myself out. Like some nights, it's like, all right, well, I'll search up slaughtered vomit dolls and let's see what the recommended films are. And just out of morbid curiosity, I'm like, what are they? So
Yeah,
I've heard of Flowers, but I think I'm getting confused with one of the American guinea pig or one of the Japanese guinea pig films, which also has a
yeah,
floral name. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
That's right. Yeah, the original Japanese guinea pig movies, Flowers of Flesh and Blood.
that's it.
Guinea
That's
pig,
it.
flowers of flesh and blood. That one, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the one that you're thinking of. Yeah, but no, this movie is basically about a guy that kidnaps this woman at the house, and you see her wake up in a blood bath, basically in a bath, but with loads of blood,
Oh, like a
and
literal bloodbath.
she,
Okay, sure. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and so she wakes up in it, and there's no like speech in it at all. It's just more like a silent movie.
Okay.
And you can hear like her panting and stuff like that, but there's no words spoken. Anyway, and she's trying to get out. She realizes he's in the house, so she finds the cabinet in the bathroom. She takes the cabinet off the wall and she gets through the wall. And she goes right through the house and she goes into the crawl space and stuff like that. That's what I remember from the movie.
Okay.
I will have to go back and rewatch it, but that's what I do remember of the movie that got me into extreme cinema, I would say. Yeah.
Wow. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
You very different childhood to mine. I don't think I touched extremes. I'm trying to think what it was because I was a late bloomer with horror and with I guess you call them 18s in the UK, which we don't call it, which is an R-rated film in Australia. Our classification is very similar, Australian UK, almost identical, which I like. They're better than the American ones. They make a lot more sense. But I think the first extreme, and I wouldn't even dub it extreme cinema by modern standards, but I think the first kind of extreme thing I would have seen would be Hostel, which I would say is probably more of a gateway drug as opposed to actual extreme cinema. And then from there, I was obsessed with really brutal horror films. But that being said, I've seen your list. I've listened to your podcast, and I feel like I've still got a way to go. Um,
No, everybody has a limit. Everybody
mm,
has, I don't gatekeep in this
yeah,
community. Like everybody has a limit, a line they won't cross, and some people they like some of these movies, but they hate the rest of them. And
mm.
that is completely fine. Everybody's different.
Oh,
So,
so sorry. I do
it's okay.
apologize. Um, Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it is interesting because the one film, and we talked about this a little bit on Instagram, the one film that I am most hesitant to watch, and I wonder if I'm too late for it now, is a Serbian film. And for those listening at home, don't Google it. And there's one particular scene, and you addressed it, I thought, in a really classy way on your podcast, and you kind of talked about like, yes, this moment is in the film, but it's off screen, it's been over sensationalized. And what's really weird is I refuse, or I've kind of put that one off, But I watched Human Centipede 2 twice, and I would argue the baby scene in that film was probably far worse.
Yeah, I have seen the Human Centipede movies. I remember watching the first one, and me and my mum watched that one. And we were waiting to find out what was going to happen at the end of the first one, and then it happened, and we were like, "Well, that was a low burner." I was like, "Well, I was expecting more from it." Like,
Yeah,
so I
I
was a
was.
little bit disappointed with the end.
I agree. I remember watching it because I remember when it came out, it was everyone was talking about it. It felt like everyone was like the video store still existed when that movie came out, and I went to the video store
Right?
every day that week, and it was always rented out. And I'm like, oh my, like what a hot seller like Human Centipede was. And I finally picked it up, and my brother saw that height. He goes, "Oh, you're watching that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna check it out." And he goes, "Can you let me know when it's done?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure," because he didn't want to, I guess, walk in. And maybe like halfway through, he knocks on the door. He goes, "Is everything okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's actually like nothing's really happened yet. Like I'm kind of waiting." It was more the idea,
Mhm.
I think, that was unsettling than actually the visual.
Yeah.
And I would say
Yeah.
it's probably for mainstream audiences, not even probably, definitely the most watchable of the three. I think you could
Yeah.
show most modern audiences that film, and probably they would be surprised how well they can handle it. It's actually not too brutal. Like I would say,
Yeah.
most of the Saw films are harder to watch than Human Centipede.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I actually did my research on the Human Centipede, and I found out that the director, Tom Six,
Yes.
he got inspiration from the medical field,
Yes.
um, to show that it could actually be possible.
Mm.
But I don't know how, but but he did. I think it's more of a psychological type of movie, in my
Yes.
opinion, because it does make you think to yourself like, oh, imagine if somebody actually done that,
Yeah.
and that's the way I think of it anyway. But yeah,
I think
but
a lot of people do, and maybe this goes to show that I'm more desensitized than I would like to admit, because I watched it and it was like, all right, I just kind of shook it off. I told my wife about it, and she was like, I just can't imagine like the process of being sewn to the back of someone and having to, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess that would be kind of gross. I didn't think about it like that. And she was like,
yeah,
what's wrong with you? I was like, so many things. Um,
yeah, same here.
um, so Flowers opens up the world of extreme cinema for you. And when's
Yeah,
that? Is that mid 2000s, early 2000s?
that was. I'm going to say 2012, 2013.
Okay, so quite a big time jump, which I guess makes sense because you were
Yeah,
8 when you saw that
yeah.
first one. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't really see any up until that point, until Flowers, but before that, um, I did see a lot of covers from all of these types of movies,
Mm,
and I was like looking into them and stuff like that, and so I guess I was really drawn to the description of these movies, and
mm,
I wanted to know more, but obviously I didn't really know where to buy them at the time,
mm,
because I wasn't really online as much as what I am now, as
yeah.
in buying movies and stuff. Whereas now I know all the different websites like Unearth Films and all the like places like that. Um, so it's a lot more easily accessible now. Um, but back then it was just movie descriptions and images and stuff like this, and I would think to myself, "Oh God, that looks extreme." But I really want to watch it though. Um, so the minute I started like buying movies myself, I started buying these movies, and I've got two boxes behind this sofa right here, full of horror movies and extreme cinema. Um, so yeah, so I've collected quite a lot over the
It's
years.
it's so funny.
Yeah,
Like this is mainly an audio show, so people will see clips from time to time. If you're listening to this, what you can't see is that behind Sensory is maybe the most beautiful British cottage-like house of all time, and you can't see it, but off screen is a box of the nastiest, most horrible films you can imagine. Just the juxtaposition of the Beauty and the
yeah,
Beast, ultimately. Um,
yeah,
well, you're very
yeah,
lucky because you live in the UK, and um, I think that the UK has maybe the best retailer for Blu-rays, which of course is HMV.
yes,
In Australia, we don't get a lot. HMV, that is a plug. If you want to take me on as want to sponsor the show, just give me free DVDs. That'd be fine.
yeah,
But like, you can just. I remember going through there and just being amazed because it's like I've been to the UK twice now. I went about 10 years ago as well on my honeymoon, and just going in there and seeing that it's all done by labels. It's not alphabetical. It's not genre. It's by label. So you can go to your 88 films, which tend to be a little bit edgier. You can go to Shameless, which is really edgy stuff, and all your cannibal films and stuff like that. And then like BFI, which for those listening are like, why are you saying all these different labels? BFI, the British Film Institute, what is in their collection? Sailor. The 120 Days of Sodom. Like, it's protected by the... There it is.
Funny enough, I bought this from HMV.
Yeah.
When I seen it, I was like, they can't be selling that, surely. And so I picked it up straight away, but the cashier kind of looked at us like, keep watching us, and I'm just like, I'm just a movie collector. Like, I'm not a serial killer.
I'm sure I got a few eye rolls because I remember going in, and now you guys have, I keep forgetting is it Second Sight? Second Sight is the label. And I bought like all the French New Wave films. So I got Martyrs, I got Inside. No, I already had Martyrs. I got Inside, which I'd never seen before. I was terrified to watch Inside. I loved Inside. I feel weird saying that, but I loved Inside. I got Frontiers, which is fantastic. And High Tension, which I'd seen before. But yeah, they're just on the shelves. But I'm sure I got strange looks that day that I bought those. I'm sure I got a strange look the day I bought the Criterion collection Pink Flamingos. That was... I don't get offended by films. I've never been offended by a film. Pink Flamingos might have pushed me. It's maybe the first one I was kind of like... And it wasn't... It wasn't the final scene. It wasn't Divine with the dog poop. It wasn't all the stuff leading up. There was the chicken sequence I really struggled with. And then there's a party. And I'm going to say this uncensored. So for those of you who are a little bit squeamish, I'm giving you a heads up. There is a 30 to 45 second uncut shot of a guy's butthole just pulsating in an extreme close-up. And I'm watching that in the middle of the night. I'm like, if my wife comes downstairs right now, I have no explanation for what's going on in this movie.
Yeah.
That was
what
the first...
are you watching?
That was the first film where I was like, oh, maybe I've met my limits. But I'm glad it's available, and I'm glad the UK just has so much... Like, my dream now is just go back to the UK every year and just do a shopping trip and just buy all the Blu-rays I can't get here. Because you guys have wonderful access. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so quite a big jump, 13, 14 years. And at that point, does the world just kind of open up? You're just like, I'm watching everything. Are you seeking particular subgenre? Are there subgenres in extreme cinema? This is where my knowledge kind of runs out. Are they kind of divided the way that horror is, or is it very much like it's just all extreme?
So to me, the way I see it is, all these movies combined are extreme cinema. However, Lucifer Valentine did create his own subgenre, which is the vomit gore.
Yes.
But there is other subgenres as well. So, oh god, you could do the rape section, humiliation. You can divide it into all these little different categories. Like, oh, this one's solely about rape, or this one's solely about cannibalism, or necrophilia and stuff like this. But to me, collectively, it's extreme cinema to me. But everybody has their own opinion on that. So to me, it's extreme cinema, and that's the way I like to see it.
Yeah.
But when it does come to the vomit side of things, though, I do say, Lucifer Valentine's is vomit gore.
Yeah.
So people know what they're going into, if that makes sense.
Those, I remember the first time I stumbled, and I don't know how I got there, because I'll just go down a rabbit hole on IMDb, as I said before. The first time I saw the poster for Slaughtered Vomit Dolls, I felt it achieved exactly what it was setting out to do. I was like, oh, this feels dangerous. Like, and I'm sure it's not. It's a film after all. But I remember seeing that poster and the crayon, and I was like, this feels like I've gone into a different world. You posed a question on your Instagram a couple of weeks ago, and was that the doorbell?
Yes, it is, yeah, but somebody will get it, though. It's fine.
The police have stumbled upon us. They're like, stop talking about those nasty films. You posed the question on Instagram about extreme cinema. Is it art, or is it trash, basically. I can't remember the exact wording you use.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
where does your opinion? Do you feel that all extreme? I'm very curious to hear what your answer is. Art versus trash, and does your answer apply to all? Yeah, that's really unsettling. Even still, does it apply to all of extreme cinema, or are there sections of extreme cinema where you're like, no, that's not art to me. That is disgusting. It's trash. It's whatever it is.
Um, to be honest with you, I wouldn't class any as trash.
Okay.
The reason I say that is because every director has their own vision, what they want to direct, and they have their own story that they want to tell. So to some people, it might be trash, but to me, I would say it's more experimental.
Mm.
Um, because especially with Lucifer Valentine's movies, I would say, and also Jimmy Screamer Claus, his Where the Dead Go to Die, and the likes of Lucifer
Yes.
Valentine. I would say they are very experimental and they do push the boundaries. But no, I wouldn't really say any movie is trash. The question I imposed was to get other people's opinions on it as well,
Mm.
um, just so I can get a good idea of the majority of what people think
Mm.
is trash versus what is good. But yeah, but I wouldn't say it was trash or anything like that. No.
I do agree. I think I wrote you quite a long response because I agree with you as well. I think it's all story, which
Yeah.
means like, so who are we to
Yeah.
criticize? And there's definitely, as I said, I've looked up some of those films. I'm like, oh, I never need to watch that, and I will sleep very soundly knowing that it's not in my collection. But that doesn't mean I should take it from everyone's collection. Like, some people dig it, and as long as they're not seeing that and be like, oh, that's a good lifestyle choice. They're
Yeah.
seeing it for what it is, which is, experimental. And I love it. I struggle more with experimental cinema these days. When I was younger, I had a lot more patience for it. But now that I'm getting old, I'm like, just tell me a story. But I do tend to be in agreement with you. And I think, Salo's a really good example of that. Like, Salo has that kind of that underlying commentary about fascism.
Yeah.
Cannibal Holocaust, I feel, is probably the closest to exploitative, but even there, I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And if you take out the obviously most controversial sequences with the animals, it's actually a pretty entertaining flick. You can
Yeah.
actually have quite a bit of fun with that. It's why I like
Yeah.
recommending The Green Inferno to people, which Eli Roth did, because I'm like, look, this is completely fictionalized. No one's getting hurt. Nothing's getting harmed. You can get the spirit of what that film was. But I remember the first time I watched Cannibal Holocaust, it wasn't the movie that stuck with me. It was that score. That theme song is so haunting and got under my skin.
Yeah.
And really upset. Like, every time I listened to it, I got like the heebie-jeebies. I was like, oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, the music is pretty famous, I would say. Yeah.
Alrighty, so if you're still with us and if you haven't been too unsettled yet, we're going to dive a little bit deeper because most people bring their top 5 favorite films of all time, but specifically we talked about you bringing 5 extreme films. So I don't know if I've seen anything on your list. Well, I might have seen one because you showed up a DVD cover before. But we'll go into your 5 films. And again, I will reiterate the trigger warning. I don't know what censor is brought in, which is the way I like this show, because then I can be surprised. Hopefully I'll have some opinions and I'll have seen some of them, but this might be the part of the show where you tell me what it is, what it's all about, and I try to compose myself for the remainder of the show. 5 extreme films, Sensory. What's number 5?
So, should we go from 5 to 1?
Yeah, let's build up to your favorite
Okay.
or the best or the worst, however you want to kind of describe it.
Okay, so the list did change since I spoke to you.
It's a very unfair question because as film fans, our lists are always changing.
Yeah, especially mine with these movies because I go between them all the time. But my number 1 has always been my number 1 up to now, so it's never changed. So number 5 would be Triple X Dark Web. Now
that's a hell of a title.
Yeah, exactly. But the reason I love this movie is because it's got a series of different stories about different people, and as you can expect, it's all extreme stuff that they do. White Gardenia is also in this as well, Daniel Valiant.
Okay.
And I also did an interview with all of these actors in this movie.
Oh,
And it
cool.
was, yeah, and it was all written as well. I'll have to find it and send you the link for it. But
Yeah.
this movie is basically this guy, he's sitting at his computer, he wants to do the job as in wanking off. So he goes on.
Sorry, I like it. You're like, I'm going to use a euphemism and immediately discard the euphemism. Very well done.
So anyway, he wants to do the job. So he goes on the computer and he finds the dark web.
Mm.
And there's a series of 6 videos that he comes across on this website. The first one shows a woman who's naked but just got like a white cloth draped over the top of her. Really pretty looking. And she's got a needle and she's like dancing, the music's going, it's focusing back on him watching this video. And she gets the needle and she draws blood from herself. That is the minor one compared to the rest of the movies that you see on there.
I was going to say, that
Um,
doesn't sound too bad, but I know what we're talking about today in terms of the theme. So, and these
Yeah.
films like to escalate as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then you see a man in this movie. For though you might want to put a picture in, a screenshot of this, or cut off these if you want. But this man here is in the second film. He is obviously got his face covered, and I think this is more for anonymity for the actors in particular. And he is looking on the wall and he's wanking off to pictures of car crashes. I'm sure there's a young girl involved in this as well. And he just gets off on that. And then he comes off and he goes on the next video. And then there's a guy with a pig mask on. And this video is quite not extreme at all, but it's more strange. He's got a mannequin, but what he's doing is he's got like a knife and he's cutting into the mannequin and then it's flipping to a real woman. So
Okay.
I'm assuming that scene is like him imagining that it's a woman he's doing it to,
Yeah,
but it's a
okay.
mannequin. But there is a couple of other videos in there. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. So if the listeners really want to watch these movies because they're interested, then they would have to go and find them.
Yep.
And I can send you links if you want to put them on the podcast if you want to do that.
Sure.
But yeah, but there's
What
one
you've
thing I
told
did.
me so far doesn't sound. Again, those listening, we've all got our own bar. But based on some of the stuff I've seen, like the needle one doesn't sound too much. The second one, like there's a very famous mainstream, well, not mainstream, but more mainstream film called Crash by David Cronenberg, which is basically the same thing. And then that last one, I guess the interspliced imagery between mannequin and someone getting murdered would be quite off-putting. But I don't, and again, I'm not setting myself a challenge, but I think I've seen worse. So right now I'm like, okay, cool, we're not too scary yet. It's all sounding okay.
Well, there is another video in it. It does get more extreme as the video goes on. There is a scene in particular from the front cover of this movie, and I'm pretty sure that's a Slipknot mask. I could be wrong. I did
Yeah.
ask him, but he didn't let me know, so I think it might be a Slipknot mask anyway. So this scene in particular is these 2 people here. They've got this guy, and they are basically torturing him, and they put a tube up his bum, and it sucks out. Yeah.
Yep. There you go. It sounds like a more extreme version. I imagine you've probably seen it because it is a British film, and it does sound like it's very similar. Is back in the early 2000s, Danny Filth of Cradle of Filth was in a film called Cradle of Filth. No, Cradle of Fear, sorry. And one of the anthology segments was very similar. It was a guy like getting off watching like murder set pieces and stuff. It sounds very
Right.
similar to that. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a bizarre film. Yeah.
I've got murder set pieces in that box behind me.
No, sorry, so it's not
but
called
yeah.
Murder Set Pieces. It's called Cradle of Fear. But there was
Okay.
there's a segment of a guy who was watching like extreme stuff on a computer, and it sounds almost like it might have even served inspiration for this film. Very weird flick, very bizarre movie. But
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, the lead singer of Cradle of Filth was just going around killing people. So there you go.
Oh well.
There we go.
Yeah.
It will surprise you, Sensory, to know that I have not seen this one, but I have heard of it. So I'm going to give myself a point for that because yeah,
Right.
I think I might have even seen it on your page, and that's how I came across hearing about it. But yeah, listeners, we're in for we're in for a ride for sure. What is it about the flick that you like? I don't normally ask this question, but again, we're going into different territory. So, what is it? Is it just the experimental nature of it? Is it the variety because it's an anthology? What is it about the flick you dig?
So, my thoughts on this movie is that it is very relatable, I would say. So a lot of teenagers, adults, men, it's always men, but it can be women as well, where they go online and they tend to venture onto the dark web and they come across content which is not what they're used to, or influential content, and so that side of it is very relatable, but then it also has the gore involved as well. um and I must admit, when I first watched this movie, I come out of this movie with adrenaline
Yep.
because it was that good.
Wow.
And
Okay.
it was just the mysteriousness of the characters as well, with the masks. Like, oh, I wonder who they are. um and also, because like I said, I did the interview with these guys and they were so nice about it. And so I think if a director is really nice as well, that adds to the film as well, where you like it a little bit more because you know what the director's like.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I really appreciated this movie, and I would say if anybody is curious about any movie in this collection I'm going to talk about, I would start with this one.
Okay.
Because in the movie as a whole, it does gradually get you into extreme cinema. So it gives you different levels of the extreme cinema, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's also another reason that I really like it as well.
It sounds also to me, and again, having not seen it, but we were talking earlier about how all of these films, that it's not just shock factor. There's always an underlying
Yeah, yeah,
commentary. It feels almost like, based on what you're telling me, it sounds like almost like a commentary on the mainstream and elevation of the consumption of pornography, is what it sounds
yeah,
like to me.
yeah.
And maybe I'm just trying to give it meaning, but that's what it like. If I think about, like, without getting too explicit, the world of pornography 20 years ago versus now, like, it's so much more accessible, and it's kind of influencing the
Yeah,
minds of younger people because they're seeing it more regularly. They're not necessarily understanding what real sex is, and they're seeing something on
yeah,
camera,
yeah.
and then the kind of pushing the need for more, and that's kind of what it seems like it could be about as well. I don't know if I'm, again, I could be just talking at my ass, but that's what it sounds like to me.
No, I totally agree with you. And also as well, it's also relating back to the fact that young boys or young girls that go online and they get themselves into places that they don't necessarily want to be in, because at the end of the movie something happens where he's like, oh shit, I shouldn't have went on that website.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to give it away, but that's also leaning into the fact, like, oh, look, if you ever go on the dark web, it's a lesson to be learned. Do not go on the dark web, because you've got hackers on there, you've got all kinds of people on there, pedophiles, you name it.
Yeah.
So you need to be careful, and you need to have protection on your computer, because they can hack into your computer and get all of your details and know where you live. So
Yeah.
I'll be very careful. So it's a lesson as well. That's what I liked it for.
Yeah, awesome. That actually, that actually sounds pretty good. Like, the more we're exploring, I'm like, yeah, that actually sounds pretty good. All right, what's number 4?
So number 4 is Sacrifice, and it's also signed as well, as you can see, from
Very
Stephen
cool.
Biro. I originally wanted to buy this; it was sold out, but Stephen sent me this. So thank you, Stephen, if you're listening.
Very nice.
But this one, I love this one because this one goes heavy on the blood. So he is living in the home by himself, and he starts to have hallucinations about this woman that wants him to sacrifice himself for her, and he will go to a heavenly world with her, because he's so depressed and everything like this. So he does. He mutilates himself, and he ends up in the bath, and you can see him in the bath, and the blood's everywhere, and he cuts off, well, basically he mutilates different parts of his body. And there's visions of her every so often coming in. And you see him as well, like on a beach, completely naked, and it's like him in heaven almost, because he's getting closer and closer to death. So yeah, so that is why I love that one, because of the amount of gore it has.
And a movie like that, do you find, because it falls under horror, it falls under kind of extremity and stuff like that. Obviously, the goal of horror, or at least mainstream horror, or horror that most film watchers know it to be, the goal is to scare you. The goal is to make you jump, to make you kind of look over your shoulder, to make you, maybe double check that shadow in the corner before you go to bed.
Yeah.
With a film like this, are you finding you're having similar reactions, or is it just the visceral, overwhelming kind of exposure of, meaty parts of the, a torn up human body? Like,
I think it's more of the, how can I explain this? So it is subjecting me to a lot of questions in my own mind, I suppose, in my way of thinking about it. It's sort of forcing me to ask these questions of like, is this what somebody can actually go to the lengths of doing? And this is where the psychology comes into it. And like the human psychology is fascinating. And the lengths that somebody will go to do what they think is the right thing to do. And I know that's really strange when we're talking about this kind of movie, but that's what it honestly got me thinking. It wasn't oh, I love the gore. I mean, I did love the gore, don't get me wrong, I love the movie. But it wasn't like to me, watching a movie like this isn't, if you're just going to watch it like everybody else, you're not going to learn anything from it. Whereas with me, I pick apart every part of a movie, and I really do go between the lines of a movie, like a storyline, like what has he really been thinking that's making him go to this extreme length, He doesn't take drugs on the movie, you don't see him taking any drugs, but I'm thinking, is he on drugs and stuff like this? So I focus more on the person themselves, what they're going through mentally. And yeah, that's just, also his acting as well, how he acted all that out was top notch. Like, I don't think I could act in a movie like that and have a straight face, to be honest.
it sounds like a much more challenging film than I think people would see it on the surface, because what you're describing to a lot of listeners and a lot of movie viewers probably like, oh, it's just 90 minutes of self-mutilation, like how hard is that? But some of my favorite films are when a director takes 2-3 people and put them in a room and be like, there's no big special effects, there's no explosions, there's no car chases or guns, it's just humans interacting. Take away the element of someone to act opposite, and that fascinates me. One person in a room, like think about how many one man or one woman movies you've seen. Like they don't do it a lot because it is such a challenge, and that does sound fascinating to me. Like I think one of my favorite examples is again, it's much more mainstream film, but Ex Machina with Donald Gleason and Alicia Vikander, which is just 3 people in a house for 90 minutes, and it's fascinating. The Disappearance of Alice Creed is another one, which is like 3 people in a house interacting, and then just like the madness that overcomes them. So what you're saying, I agree with, and that sounds fascinating. Like just watching that, and it also sounds like it could be a very interesting companion piece to something like Martyrs, which it almost seems like the end goal of that film, or the philosophy of that film, is very much in line with Sacrifice, based on what you're telling me, at least.
I do like Martyrs. I do really like that one, and I also really like the second one that the brothers done.
Oh, what's that one?
It's, I wish I had gotten it out now. But 2 brothers had come together and made Martyrs, so like a remake of it. I really, really do like that one.
The American remake, is that what you're talking about, or was it something else?
I think they're American, yeah. I could be wrong.
Because I know years later, an American filmmaker remade Martyrs and people were outraged, but I actually didn't think it was too bad. The French one's better, but I didn't mind the American remake.
I think the second one shows a bit more gore than what the original does, from what I remember. I do remember the movies and the storylines and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure the American remake goes into a little bit more gore. With what I do remember is on her back, he's cutting out a square piece on her back, and it actually focuses on that a little bit more.
Yes, that does
Um,
sound familiar. Yeah.
so yeah, so yeah, good films.
I think it's like good fun. I was like, yeah,
We're
good fun.
gonna have some fun watching some extreme cinema. Yeah,
Martyrs was one that I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't let down, but it's a perfect example of a film where the word of mouth really kind of made it out to be worse than it actually was. Like, and that's not to say that
yeah,
Martyrs isn't hard to watch. It's definitely a very challenging watch, and I wouldn't recommend. Like, it's one of those films I can't recommend to people. I'm like, look, if you want to be depressed and look at some horrible images for an hour and a half, go and watch Martyrs. But otherwise, I wouldn't
yeah.
recommend it. But after I watched, I was so nervous going into it. That Antichrist and there's another one, and I'm forgetting now. But like, there were a couple that I was really nervous going into, and on the other side, I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't, it was
I
full on.
love
But
Antichrist.
I've got Antichrist on my shelf up there somewhere, up on my top shelf for all my. I definitely don't want my daughter to get access to these movies.
Okay.
So the ones that are really and they're not all extreme stuff, but anything that has a scary face on it or is just a little bit too over the top, I'm like, I don't want my daughter to get access to those until
Yeah,
she's 15,
yeah,
and then she can watch whatever she wants. But I do
yeah,
have Antichrist up there. Antichrist, I think, is an incredible piece. Really,
yeah,
really well. Yeah.
yeah. The actors as well, fantastic actors, and the director as well. He's a fantastic director, Lars von Trier.
Yeah, he hasn't. I haven't seen all of his stuff, but everything I've seen, I've really appreciated. I'm trying to think. Like Nymphomaniac, I think is really well done. I don't know if it needs to be 4 hours, but I do think it's a really well
Yeah,
made flick. And what
I
else
agree
have
with that. Yeah,
I don't. Oh, the house that Jack built is fantastic. I really like that as well. Um,
I haven't seen that one.
yeah, that
No.
one. I won't spoil it for you because the ending I think is fantastic. I think it's. I accidentally spoiled it for myself, but it didn't take it away. But the house that Jack built is Matt Dillon. Like 90s heartthrob Matt Dillon is a serial killer, and he's recounting like the most important kills in his career. To like a masked figure.
Okay.
It's long. It's like 2.5 hours long, but visually like very interesting and quite a different kind of slow burn take on the psyche of a serial killer. I really liked it.
Okay. Oh, well.
But I probably wouldn't put it in like the realm of extreme. I would say it's definitely not mainstream. It's certainly not for everyone, but I would say it's relative. Like it's more tame than Antichrist. Like Antichrist
Okay.
definitely. Although there are some there are some moments, I don't want to spoil it for you, but like there are some moments where he's doing things that should be horrific, but the insanity of what's happening, you can't help but laugh, which
Okay.
may reflect poorly on me, I'm not sure, but there's some moments where I was like, this is bonkers. But yeah,
Okay.
it's a good one. I think those are the only three
Oh,
Von Trier
definitely.
films I've seen, but I definitely want to see more.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm so sorry we got distracted from Sacrifice because we were talking about all these
That's
other
okay.
films. I guess number 3 is next. So far, I haven't seen any of them. I may have seen one, I'm not sure, but what's number 3?
Okay. So number 3 is The Art of Self-Harm by Jonathan Doe.
I have seen
I
you promoting this on your Instagram quite a bit.
yeah yeah. So I interviewed Jonathan Doe, and I've interviewed White Gardenia multiple times. He's a really cool guy. And this is basically a documentary about White Gardenia and his 2 co-friends that's on set with him quite a few times. And he basically goes and visits White Gardenia, and he asks him if he will take him around and show him exactly what goes on when he acts out his scenes on DVD. And he does. Now, this has quite a few scenes in it which are a bit more extreme, as in bodily harm extreme.
Okay.
So one of them I would say is he has with the woman that he's on set with quite a lot. He is in a room and he's got a wooden table, and so Jonathan Doe is videoing this as it's all happening, and obviously he gets these nails and he cleans them all so they're sanitized, so no infection's going to happen. He's all safe about what he does. And she gets a hammer She gets a nail, and well, White Gardenia holds his balls on the table. She gets the nail, puts it on the balls, gets the hammer, and stabs the nail into the balls onto the table. And
Wow.
he's like that. So he is the only person in the world that I've seen that can actually chop off his own finger. He did that in one of his movies. He chopped off his own finger.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, yeah.
Um, this might seem like a silly question. Did he get it reattached, or is he now fingerless?
He's still fingerless, but he's kept his finger though.
And was this? This is obviously it's not just extreme cinema. This feels like, in a way, a level of performance art. There's a documentary I remember watching
Mhm.
years ago, and I want to say it was called "When the Light Takes Us" or something like that, and it's about um, some of the like extreme death metal bands in Norway, and there was one guy who was doing performance art, and he would run a blade along his arms, while he's singing, like kind of cut himself open. So it feels like it's not just extreme storytelling, but also some sort of performance art.
Mhm.
Is that it, or is it he? Is he kind of making a political statement? Like, what is to your knowledge, what is the message behind this, or what's the motivation to cause such self-bodily harm?
So
Or is that
from the
spoiling the movie?
conversations, yeah, so the conversations that I've had with White Gardenia, I've went into detail with him on my podcasts previously. So if anybody's listening to this and they want to listen to that, then they can. But in this movie, it's basically just about his life in general, of how he can perform these acts and how it makes him feel. And to me, it's one of a kind, because it's not very often you see somebody going through something like this and it not flinching them.
Yeah.
You know, it did not flinch him at all. And I'm just like, my God, you are. This is not literal, by the way, but I was like, are you a god figure? Like, you don't feel any pain at all, you know? But he's not a god, obviously. I wouldn't suggest anybody think anybody was a god. Um, but yeah, but it's just basically a documentary into his life and his friends and, what they get out of it. And he did mention a couple of times where the police were involved with one of his movies. Um, so yeah, so he's talking about that, and he had to provide proof that everybody was fine, essentially. So yeah, so that's what it's about, just his life and how he can do these things.
And so
Yeah.
is he a film? So he's a filmmaker as well. Is or
So he creates his own movies as
yeah.
well. He sent me quite a few from our website at the time, um, which is down at the moment. But I will be setting it back up again next year. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, fascinating. That one I think
yeah.
is both the most intriguing of the three you've said so far, and maybe the most horrifying, because there is no special effect. Like, there is, it's
No,
he's performing true acts of self harm. But it seems like, I mean, look,
yeah.
the finger one's hard to justify. I don't know if I can get behind that one. The balls, I'm like, look, if you want to do it, I suppose. But I guess it'll heal. But the
Yeah.
finger one's tough to just. Um, but again, like, I thought I was nervous going into this, not because I was nervous to talk to you. You seem very lovely, but knowing that I don't know, knowing as little as I do about extreme cinema, I was like, man, there's going to be so much discussion of like these really horrible films. But I'm more fascinated by it, about the motivation
Yeah.
behind someone to do these kind of things. And I'm sure there are some people listening who are like, well, clearly he's mentally unstable, but I don't think it's that. It doesn't sound like that. It sounds
No.
like these are decisions of a very level-headed person. They're just not decisions that anyone in the world would make. And
Yeah, believe it or
yeah,
not, he's quite intelligent.
yeah,
He's quite intelligent. When you listen to my interviews with him, he's very passionate with
mm,
different things he's into. And you can hear that in the podcast. But one thing I do want to mention about this movie, though,
mm,
is all of the other ones, I would say people I would recommend to watch. However, this one, I think, is more of a collector's piece.
yep,
If you collect these movies, it's not necessarily something that you would need to watch, but I would recommend it because obviously I love the movie. I'm a
mm,
collector of these movies. So if you are a collector of these movies, I would definitely collect that one. and watch it just for watching's sake. But it doesn't really have much of a storyline. Like I say, it just has what he does, and that's basically it. Yeah.
And is that the piece de resistance, or does it get more extreme, or is that kind of like the you don't have to spoil it if it's going to spoil the film. You don't have to go into that detail. But I'm just curious because that sounds pretty intense to me.
I mean, it is pretty intense when you actually sit down and watch every scene what he does. It is pretty intense because you do kind of like you're watching it and you're watching them doing it and you're like, oh God, like, oh, that's got to hurt. So I think that one is just more for watching purposes more than anything else, in my opinion.
Sure.
So it's not necessarily, but it is one of my favorites. So I can't explain it. It is one of my favorites. So, so yeah.
I mean, look, in
It's
another
subjective.
world, and this is going to sound weird to compare the two, but like millions of people threw millions of dollars at those Jackass films. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, and granted, like the intention was to for humor, but those are body mutilation films. Like, if you watch those films and if you strip out, if you don't tell anyone there's jokes, if you're just like the first scene is a guy cutting open his fingers with paper cuts, if you don't know it's a comedy, you're like, oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
So there's a weird thread line there, I think, between, and again, like I've talked about this in the podcast before, I think there's a really interesting connection between comedy and horror because I think they both serve the same purpose. They're just tapping into different kind of neural responses, but the extremes of comedy, I think, match the extremes of horror. So it's interesting that people will pay lots of money to go and watch the Jackass crew, but something you're talking about, which sounds like an expression of self, an expression of art, and even if you don't agree with it, it is this performance piece that would probably get under people's skin, whereas the Jackass guys can, brand each other and people are fine with it.
Yeah.
So it's a really fascinating.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to get this introspective, especially about Jackass.
I would say that the art of self-harm is a lot more graphic and a lot more into it, is the Jackass. But Jackass, I remember watching Bad Grandpa.
Yes.
Honestly, that was so funny. I thought that was hysterical.
That movie, I had no expectations, and every time they tease the fishing trip, I was like, are they ever going to get to this fishing trip? And then when they do the reveal of the fish at the end of the film, I was in tears. Fascinating. All right.
Yeah, I do like the Jackass movies.
But it is interesting, like, because those are films that do celebrate bodily harm.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't put that on. No one would consider that extreme cinema, which is really interesting.
No.
Every now and then, Sensory, I sound smart on this podcast. It's not very often, but I think maybe that was a rare moment where I sounded a bit smart. What is number 2 on your list?
So number 2 is a bit more of a one that I think everybody should watch.
Okay.
And it is Audition by Takashi Miike.
I love Audition.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I have
love
watched Audition
movie.
so many times. I love it.
Yeah, but for the viewers or for the listeners, it's basically about a dad who has a son. The mum dies. The son gets older. He says, Dad, you need to meet somebody new. You need to marry somebody else. So he then sets up a fake audition with the guy he works with, and he comes across a girl, and he's infatuated with her straight away. Sammy is her name. And I mean, she's on the cover, as we can see that it's pretty extreme in the movie roughly at the end. But it's, to me, I love the father actor in this. I love what he brings to the table in this, and the son as well. And I absolutely love this movie. It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
It's such a wonderful commentary on the dangers of misogyny.
Yeah.
It's like because you watch it and it starts off kind of lighthearted. They're like, oh yeah, we'll put up a fake TV show and audition these girls. And the more I watch it, and maybe because I'm a man, I'm sure as a woman, you watch that and you feel grossed out as well. But I'm like, oh man, like I've interacted with men like this and like, or at least the very first, like, oh, just having a joke around, and it gets progressively grosser the way they talk about them, and how like they're trying to find like the perfect like partner for him, and how they're treating it like it's a competition.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of like, let's just say the revenge is earned, when we get to that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one scene I always forget about is the dog bowl scene.
Oh. Yeah.
I wasn't expecting you to react like that to anything, so the fact that you're...
To be honest with you, I can deal with anything in extreme cinema. When it comes to the dog bowl scene, that kind of thing in particular, I'm a little bit oozy with, funny
Yeah.
enough. But I can deal with anything else, apart from animal cruelty.
Yeah.
I can't stomach animal cruelty, unfortunately, or fortunately for me. Where some people can. Some people can tolerate that, but me personally, that scene in particular, whenever she does that, I've watched this movie like a million times, and every time that scene happens, I'm like, oh, God. Yeah.
Was that your first Takashi Miike film?
It was.
Because
Yes.
I remember hearing about him. I learned about him through Eli Roth, because in the first Hostel movie, there's a sequence, and this Japanese guy walks by and's got a bandana on, and in the behind the scenes, the making of, they're like, "Oh, that's Takashi Miike. He's like one of the most prolific Japanese directors," and it opened up another rabbit hole for me. And I haven't like, he's made 100 films, or like over 100 films. It's crazy, but I've seen a handful. He made, if I remember correctly, he did Ichi the Killer, which is a fantastic film. And he did Blade of the Immortal. He's done a bunch, but I really like him. And through Takashi Miike, even though they're two different countries, I discovered Park Chan-wook, who is maybe one of the best Korean directors and also does a lot of disturbing films. So I'm so glad there was something on your list that I've seen, and not only have I seen it, I love it. And I agree, I do think
so do I.
People should watch it. It's not...
Definitely, yeah.
I would not put it in the same breath as Human Centipede or any of the other movies you mentioned. I think it's not mainstream, but I think like if you like Squid Game, you're only a couple of steps away from Audition. Like,
yeah. I never thought of it like that, but you're spot on with that. Yeah.
Because people, I remember, and this is the film snob in me coming out and bearing its claws. But I remember when Squid Game came out, and I loved it. And the whole world was losing their minds. And I'm like, guys, like, South Korea's been making wonderful films for like 20, 30 years. Like, I'm glad you like Squid Game, but, Old Boy is 20 years old. Like, Bittersweet Life, like, all these wonderful films have been around for ages. Like,
yeah, Old Boy. Yeah, I've got that on DVD as well. Yeah.
Old Boy's a good one. That whole trilogy. I love all the Korean cinema. So, but yeah, if you can watch Squid Game, you're probably not too far off Audition. I think I haven't seen all the seasons, but that first season's pretty full on. If you can get through that, you can probably get through Audition.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad I've seen something on your list. I was like, I gotta flex a little. And it's I love it. It sounds like it's crazy.
Well, I would say out of all of them. Pardon?
No, go. You talk, please.
I was just going to say, out of all of them that we've mentioned so far, including number one, I would say definitely watch Audition, if anything. Definitely. Yeah.
It's really good. And it's a really, like, wonderful, as I said, it's a comment on misogyny. It's a wonderful feminist piece. Like, yes, it is disturbing and it's unsettling, and there are some gross... The dog bowl scene is tough. I'm not going to lie. It's tough. But you can close your eyes during that bit. The one bit you don't want to close your eyes to is the dee at the very end. You want to keep your eyes open for that one.
That is just so strange. And apparently she just added it in and nobody knew about it until the director heard her do it when I did my research. So for her to just be like, tick, 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 tick. Or was it kitty, 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 kitty? And I was just like, oh, gets under my skin when she does that.
Like, my reaction to that was the same as when I saw Hereditary for the first time and I just heard, like, that kind of ongoing, like, that kind of unsettling, or the claps in The Conjuring. But I can reference the claps, I can reference the noise in Hereditary. People know what I'm talking about. If I go, no one knows what I'm talking about. And I'm like, oh, man, you need to see Audition. It's really wonderful. And heartbreaking as well. Like, that poor boy and stuff like that. But It's a really, really good film. I would recommend it 100%. So you're getting two
Yeah.
thumbs up from both of us, people listening, if you've survived.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, it's going to seem crazy, but not only have we been going for an hour, but we are at the end of your list already. It's flown by. What is number one? What is your favorite? What's the one that's getting under people's skin?
I'm just gonna say it. A Serbian film is my number one.
I knew it was going to be a
Yeah.
Serbian film. You talked
Yeah.
about it so lovingly on your podcast.
Yeah. I have a soft spot for this movie. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
I after listening to your podcast episode, I remember talking to you. I'm like, man, I love your new podcast. I really like listening to the show. My only complaint is I wish it was longer because in your show it's not even you defend these films, but you just talk about very kind of matter of fact, like this is what this film was about. This is what's happened.
Mhm.
This is why it's controversial. This is why you don't need to say it's controversial. But what I miss from your show and what I've really loved about talking to you for the last hour is not only are you saying those things, but you're also like, here's what it's about. Here's why I love it. And like you're really opening up about the film, and that's what I really love. I watched the trailer for the first time in a decade after listening to your podcast because like I was seriously entertaining the idea of watching it.
Oh wow.
I don't know if I'm there yet.
Okay.
But the trailer, you talked about the music and you talked about the shots, and I was looking at it, I'm like, wow, like if I didn't know what I knew about this film, this trailer is killing it. Like it's really selling me on this film. And if I didn't know all the horrible things that happened, I'd be like, let's get everyone around and watch this flick. It looks amazing. Fortunately, I know what happens in that movie.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's just one of a kind. It's I hope it does never ever get made again. But I know Stephen Byro released a behind the scenes documentary about this, which I'm yet to watch, and I can't wait to watch it.
I'm really fascinated by that because I wonder how much they're going to show. Because I'm actually in the middle of it right now. I'm just finishing up. I'm watching RoboDoc. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's the 4-part miniseries about the making of RoboCop. RoboCop's one of my favorite films, and they show a lot from the film. If it's that kind of documentary, it might be too extreme for me. But if it's a little bit more reserved, I might be able to handle it. But I do know on IMDb right now the background image is a rubber baby, and I'm like, oh, I think they're going to show a lot.
Oh God. I mean, what a way to put people off, right? I mean, that's to me, it's not the sole purpose of the movie. It's everybody. I think if everybody knows the name a Serbian film, they reference that with the baby rape scene, or if you mention a baby rape scene in this community, people think of a Serbian film straight away, and it's not the case at all. You don't actually see a baby rape scene. The director is really good in angling the camera and switching off at a certain time to make you think that's a baby rape scene, when in actual fact it's not, and it's putting that picture in your mind, and then everybody else takes what they heard and say, oh yeah, I'm not watching it because of the baby rape scene. I'm like, yeah, but you obviously clearly haven't watched it because there's no baby rape scene. So, but yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah.
the again, I'm anti-censorship. I'm pro making rules. That's the one thing I'm like, oh, that's. And you're right. From what I said, there is no scene. It's all inferred. But even that inferral, I'm like, oh, that's tough. That's tougher than most. Although I guess credit to Serbian film, they endangered children way earlier than the modern horror movement. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but in horror over the last 5 years, children are no longer safe. Serbian film might have set that up, a decade ago.
Yeah, but there is one thing I want to mention, which I think is kind of crucial relating to this movie. I can tell all the people that have actually seen this movie and the people that haven't seen this movie, because all of the people that claim to have seen a Serbian film will only mention that baby rape scene. However, the real people that have really watched this movie also reference another scene near the end, which is 10 times worse.
I know which one you're talking about, the finale, and that actually, that's the one that makes me the most upset. Like it's weird to rank upsetting moments. Like, how could anything be more offensive than that? And I
Yeah.
don't think the film was designed to offend people. I truly don't.
No.
Like,
No.
but anyone who argues that they think it was, I don't have a defense. I'm like, you know what? If you're offended by it, I get it. I think you should be offended by it. But if you're not offended by it,
Yeah.
I totally defend your right to not be offended by it. But it's pushing every edge of the envelope. Like, there is no the
Yeah.
envelope. Not even the envelope has been destroyed. Like, this film has kind of just there's nothing like.
Yeah.
And again, I haven't seen it, but I know enough about it to know of all the things I've seen and all the extreme stuff I've seen. Nothing comes close to what I've heard about this film, what I've read. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everybody's different. Like I say, everyone's got a limit and stuff like this.
Mm.
Some people say, "Oh, that's too much for me." Some people turn their nose up at this movie and say it's, it's too graphic, or no, I'm just not going to entertain that movie, or they snub it and stuff like this. At the end of the day, everybody has their own opinion, and I'm not here, just like you, I'm not here to say, well, you're wrong because this. Absolutely not. If people don't like the movie, they don't like the movie. It's as simple as that. But my personal opinion is, I think you should at least watch it, just to see. And if you don't like it, then you can make that judgment if you don't like it. But yeah, everybody's different at the end of the day. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I'm certainly in no way condemning it. You know, it's one of those films where, although I would struggle to defend it against the general audience. I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, sounds pretty gross. I'm with you. But at the same time,
Yeah.
I haven't grown up in Serbia. I haven't grown up under a fascist regime. I haven't been I haven't had a history of abuse. So
Yeah.
any art that I might be inclined to make is not going to be extreme because I haven't lived in extreme circumstances. When you've been at the hands of torture or abuse or oppression, the stuff you tend to create is probably a little bit darker. So,
Yeah.
and that's the way I
Yeah.
always try to approach it, where it's like, yeah, that all sounds horrible, but I don't know the circumstances in which this was made or why these thoughts came to someone's head. I've heard people say the same thing about Damien Leone with Terrifier. Like, Terrifier is not on the same level at all. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, Terrifier
No.
is an exaggerated slasher, and granted, it gets pretty dark and it gets pretty, like, messed up at points, but
I love Terrifier. I love it.
Yeah, me too. I
Yeah.
remember, like, the first two, I was like, he's so cruel. I don't feel comfortable saying that I like this film. And then I watched 3 and I was like, I do like this film. This one's really fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is weird because it has maybe the most indefensible scene out of any of the films. That whole attic scene, I'm like, oh my god. Like, but take that out.
Yeah.
Really fun watch. So,
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
That was a dark and twisted road onto the other side of the human soul. But we survived, and hopefully people enjoyed it and have been listening and kind of dug it. And I don't know if people are curious. There's definitely room in everyone's life for a little bit of extreme cinema. I think there's
definitely.
There's definitely stuff, because if you look up, for those listening at home, if you look up extreme cinema, like, yes, you are going to see the 5 films that Sensory mentioned. First of all, Audition, I would definitely consider way low on the totem pole. I think it's very, very accessible. But even stuff like Raw, by Julia Ducournau from the French New Wave is really a lovely film. It's a really romantic film, and it's really beautifully shot. It just happens to be about cannibalism. I think Raw's a really one. There's some really fantastic entries in the extreme cinema realm that I think a lot of people can appreciate. You don't have to go to American Guinea Pig or August Underground. You can go...
Yeah.
Even the first Human Centipede, I would say most people could probably actually handle it. It's more the idea than the visuals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. This has been wild. I've had a really good time listening to you talk about these films. So thank you so much for hanging out and talking about extreme films. Before we get out of here, I do like to end every episode with a rapid-fire question round just about your viewing habits. And then we'll plug all your stuff, and we'll let people know where they can find you on social and stuff. This might be the most interesting one because, again, your answers don't have to be related to extreme cinema, but I feel like they probably will be. So my first question, Sensory, is what's the last movie you watched?
The last movie I watched was The Art of Self-Harm.
There you go.
Funny enough.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, we know how you feel about it. I normally ask people to tell me what they thought, but I know how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Is there a movie that's been sitting on your watch list forever that you just haven't seen? And I don't know whether this will expand to mainstream or whether it's more extreme cinema. But we've all got one. All film fans have something they haven't seen they really know they should have.
I would say it's more of a horror movie, not extreme cinema. Is the doll movie, the female doll movie. I can't remember her name now.
Annabelle?
No, she's got the long blonde hair.
Oh, Megan.
Megan, that's it.
It's
That's
really
on my watch
fun.
list. Is it really good?
I don't know if it's really good, but it's really fun.
Okay.
They didn't go for an R rating in America. They went for a PG-13 because they want to expand their audience. So it's not particularly gory, but there is a real sense of fun about it. The idea of like AI kind of turning evil and being very kind of almost clingy and protective of the child. I quite enjoyed that element of it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's silly, but it's enjoyable. I haven't seen the sequel though.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to step away from my list of questions for a second because I realized I didn't ask you. The first film, you obviously talked about the film that got you into extreme cinema all those years ago from the video store. What was the Disney film you didn't watch?
Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, that's so funny because I referenced it later. That's a really lovely film. I like Beauty and the Beast.
I do love it, but I prefer The Lion King. That's my favourite one.
That was I think that was my first theatrical movie. I think Lion King was the first thing I saw in cinemas.
Okay.
We were talking about it the other day as well because I posted about it. They're releasing the BBC miniseries of all the Narnia films. We were talking about that, which I got very excited about.
I love the Narnia films.
Yeah.
I love them.
That Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was the first film I ever watched, I think. So when
Yeah.
I saw that, I was like, oh my god, like... And I'm sure it's terrible. Well, not terrible in terms of the storytelling, but like I remember the wolf costume is not good. So I'm very excited to see how it holds up. But that's on my wish list.
I do love the Narnia films, I'm not going to
Yeah.
lie. But The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, oh my god, I was obsessed with that as a child.
Yeah, that queen was so
Obsessed with it.
terrifying. And that movie, like most children who watched it, got me into Turkish delight. Which I think is the lesson we can all learn, is that we should eat
Okay.
Turkish delight.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by this question because I can tell. I honestly have no idea with you. Are you a movie crier?
No.
No. That is kind of where
No.
I was leaning. And I was like, look, she's watching all these horrible things. She's probably pretty desensitized, but you never know. Fair enough. Is there an actor or an actress, it doesn't matter what the movie is, you see them on the cast list, you're going to go check it out?
Johnny Depp.
Interesting. Very, very cool. He's awesome. I'm a big fan of Johnny Depp.
Yeah, so am I. Absolutely love Johnny Depp.
Nominated for Academy Award for Pirates of the Caribbean. Every time he gets mentioned, I drop that down because people don't know that. That was a Best
Right?
Actor nod. Like,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
cool. Well, and that tracks because you talked about Nightmare on Elm Street, and obviously that was one of his first roles, so that tracks.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's right, yeah.
All right, we don't have to be too negative. Clearly, we've been very positive, even about the nasty things we've talked about today. But
Yeah.
what is the worst movie you've ever seen?
Oh my god. The worst movie I've ever seen. I can't think right now which is the worst movie I've ever seen. I mean, there is a movie coming to mind, but I can't remember the name of it.
Oh,
And
do
I
you
can
remember
only
who was in it or what it was about? Maybe I can solve this problem.
So what I can remember is it was like this house, like a sort of a double-fronted house, but the door was on the end, I would say, in this housing estate, and like the camera was based in the kitchen, and that's all I can remember about the movie.
Oh, okay.
That's all I can remember, but that was one of the worst movies I'd ever seen because I remember coming out of it thinking, well, that was boring as hell. But a movie that I can remember that I might have think was boring as anything, I can't really put my finger on any at the moment, to be honest.
Not a bad problem to have. You know, that
No.
means you're enjoying most of the things you watch, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, well, there is a movie actually.
Okay, go on.
It's more of a romance type film.
Yep.
The Holiday.
Interesting.
I hated that movie. I hated it. I'm
Interesting.
sorry to anybody that loves it, but no.
I saw it as a teenager when it came out in theaters. My dad was dating a woman, or they were in like I don't know what the situation was, but like we'd hang out with her family quite a bit. My dad and this single mum, and they dragged us along to it. And I remember at the time I would have been 15, really enjoying it because I'm a big Jack Black fan. School of Rock, just incredible. And then last year, while we were in the UK, like my wife and I were like, "Oh, we should watch some Christmas movies." And she's like, "I've never seen The Holiday." I was like, "Oh my god, The Holiday is amazing. Well, let's put on The Holiday." And we sat there the entire time where I was like, "Oh, so not amazing." Like there were a couple of moments I chuckled in, but a lot of it I was like, wow, this flick doesn't hold up at all. Like, it's, there are a couple of moments I like, but my opinion, and again, like, I'm not trying not to be negative about films. I didn't think it was a bad film, but definitely it had lived a much nicer life in my memory than in reality. So I hear you on that. Alrighty, Sensory. Very last question, then I'll let you go. What's one movie they should never remake?
Oh. Oh, that's a hard one. I would say a Serbian film.
I was gonna say, you mentioned it before. I was waiting for. I can be 100% honest. No one has ever said a Serbian film before. So
Right? Okay.
You're the first
I would
person to
definitely
mention
say a
that.
Serbian film.
You might be the first person I've ever spoken to who's ever seen that movie.
Right.
So there you go. There we go.
I know you did do an interview the last time with the girl that remade the documentary on Ted Bundy, and she said Gone with the Wind, and I thought, my God, that's somebody else, like roughly our ages, that's seen Gone with the Wind. I absolutely love that movie.
Yeah, that was Devaney. She's lovely.
But...
Devaney's awesome. She might be one of the hardest working people in the business. She's on set for the 4th movie in a row in the last 2 months. She's been shooting film, but she just did a remake and a sequel of Aladdin as a horror film. So she's playing Princess Jasmine in two like dark, twisted adaptations of Aladdin.
Interesting.
Yeah, she's cool. She was my first ever industry guest. She's lovely. She's very, very cool. We still talk from time to time, but yeah, she did mention that. I forgot about that. Very nice of you to listen to the interview. That's it. We're done. I'll let you get out of here. But before we do you want to tell people where they can find you? Do you want to plug your socials, your podcast? Tell them all the good, horrible, nasty things so we can follow you along.
On Instagram, I am Too Extreme for Mainstream. It's just one word. On Apple Podcasts and Spotify, you can find The Disturbing Reel. On YouTube, it is Homicide Highway for more of the true crime episodes. But that's where you can find me, mostly on Instagram. Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. And if you have any inquiries about extreme horror, probably reach out to Sensory over me. She's seen more of them, but I know that you love to have those discussions on your page. You welcome people to comment and message and stuff like that. So definitely reach out to Sensory. And if you're curious, do a bit of research. Look into it, because they're not all as bad as you think they might be.
Exactly.
Excellent. Go and listen to her podcast. It's way shorter than my show. They're like 10, 15-minute episodes, and they're very, very insightful. So go and listen to Sensory's podcast. If you want to follow along with me, Instagram, I was a teenage film snob, underscores between every single word. We're pumping out 90-second reviews. I think we're done with premieres for this year. I'm about to take a hiatus, so I don't think there'll be any more premieres for a little while, but there'll be stuff coming out constantly. And next week, as not at the time of recording, but when this drops next week will be episode 150. I'm sure we have an amazing extravaganza planned. I don't know what it is yet, but at the time of this dropping, I will have a plan, hopefully. So thank you all for listening. Thank you to Sensory for coming on, and you're welcome.
Thank you so much for
Sensory,
having me.
For coming on. You're an absolute joy to talk to. And as I say every week on this show, guys, I was a teenage film snob, but I'm trying to be better. We'll see you next week.
Back to the future, Nick Samara.